Well, honestly, it got to the point where it was either open a store or get a divorce.
This episode of Donnie Success Champion is brought to you by the Blue Family Fund. This is a non-profit that's supporting law officers and their children and the dependents of fallen officers. The great thing about this organization is 100% of every dollar generated, every dollar donated, goes right back to the families. Check them out at bluefamilyfund.com.
All right, guys, this is going to be probably one of my funnest podcasts to do in a while. I'm bringing on a dear friend of mine, Bonnie. Her husband and I have been friends. I mean, we've been in each other's weddings, and we've spent a lot of time together. But Bonnie has been an inspiring entrepreneur. Just watching her story and grow and what she's freaking done has been such an inspiration to me as I continue on my journey. So I'm really excited for you guys to meet her. Bonnie, welcome to the show. How are you? Everybody's looking forward to hearing your journey and your story. So tell us who you are, how you got here, and then we'll just have some fun.
Awesome. Well, I kind of started my own business by accident. I mean, really and honestly, I wasn't even out, looking to even really start a business. But I had a very stressful job, and I worked a ridiculous amount of hours, and I was kind of killing myself. I've always been kind of crafty, and so when I'd get home from work in the evenings, I'd sit down and I would make boutique-style baby clothes and tutu dresses and headbands because that was all kind of craze, and I had just had a little baby girl. So I kind of got into making all kinds of fun stuff, and I started posting it on Facebook and that kind of deal, and it actually kind of took off, and people were actually buying the little tutu dresses and stuff. So, and it was just kind of a release for me, a way of kind of numbing my mind a little bit from the stressful day. And so absolutely loved my job, but it kind of took a beating on me. And out of nowhere, I kind of lost my job. I was laid off.
Kind of lose a job.
Well, I didn't kind of lose my job. I got laid off. I worked in the oil industry, and so the industry obviously is unstable. It's unstable still to this day, but back then it was high, low all the time. And unfortunately, I worked in manufacturing, and manufacturing is the first thing they cut. When they're not making money, they're not going to be manufacturing anything. So I was laid off from the oil field. And I hit a point where, oh my God, what do I do from here? Because all I had known for years was the oil and gas industry, and I was a computer-aided design technician, so that's all I could do at that time. And so me and my husband kind of had a heart-to-heart on what in the world am I going to do with my life. I convinced him to give me some time, let me kind of explore some things and that kind of deal. And I started a Facebook business page called Shabby Abby, named after at the time, she was only like 3 months old, named after my daughter. And I started posting stuff and doing crafty stuff, and it just took off. And then I started doing furniture, painting furniture, little pieces in my garage, and it snowballed like a cascade effect. People were messaging me out, all over the Metroplex, wanting to know if I could paint their furniture. I'm out searching furniture. I'm going to auctions. I'm going to thrift stores. I'm finding all of this really cool old, pieces and giving them new life. After doing that for about 9 months or so in my garage, I outgrew my face. I outgrew everything. So I decided to open a store. And the store, I worked so hard to open my storefront, and it worked really, really well, and very much enjoyed having the store. But I kind of outgrew my britches a little bit. I kind of got not in over my head per se, but there's so much that goes involved in having a storefront that you don't think about. Right. Security system, internet, all that kind of stuff that your overhead gets ridiculous. And
hold on, let's back up 2 seconds.
Okay.
So you started off creating all these kid clothes and tutus and headbands, and I remember very well. And we'd walk in your house, and there would be craft shit everywhere.
Glitter and tulle and
yeah, all over the damn place. And people really were interested in it. I mean, they started buying it in droves. It was actually quite impressive. How did you go from clothes to furniture? That seems like a big leap.
It was definitely big leap. Me and my mom actually were out one day just kind of messing around. And
wait, one thing they got to know about you and your mom is you guys are the Goodwill queens. I mean, you guys can absolutely crush a Goodwill store. And I wonder often if the Goodwills don't, shriek when y'all come in. you guys could find some stuff. But go ahead.
That's true. That's true. I mean, yes, absolutely. But and it was Goodwill, and it was actually just the local Goodwill here. We had ran in there one day, just killing time, and they had this dining room table, solid pine farmhouse style dining room table. And it was all banged up and scratched up and that kind of stuff. And I think it was $12. I mean, it was like nothing. It was like, it was like $12, $15. So my mom's like, you should buy that. I'm like, well, I don't need a dining room table. She's like, no, we could totally redo that. It would be cute. So I said, all right, let's do it. So for, whatever little amount it was, I bought the table and I brought it home. I was actually going to use it as a craft table. I was setting my garage up to have more space to work on the crafty stuff. So I kind of got it out of my house a little bit and into the garage. And I got it home and I started painting it, and I painted it turquoise and kind of distressed it, made it real farmhouse, shabby chic look. And I did the top of it in chalkboard. And so I actually did the center of it was chalkboard. Well, for fun, I posted a picture of it and said, hey guys, look what I'm working on, and lady immediately messaged me and said, I want it. How much? And I was like, well, the paint's not dry yet. It's still wet. And she was like, no. My husband is on his way home from work right now. I can come to your house and pick it up. How much do you want for it? And I was thinking, well, I don't know. I just bought it for $15, slapped the paint on it. I mean, it's super cute, but so I ended up selling it to her for, $50, $75. I don't really remember, but, I made a really good little profit there for having it at my house for an hour, and the paint was still wet when they came to pick it up. So that kind of triggered maybe there's something to this. Maybe finding pieces and redoing them, maybe there's something to that.
Well, there also has to be a little bit of a play of how long it was taking you to do all the crafty sewing and everything else versus the few minutes you spent on painting a table.
Of course. Absolutely. And then I started searching for pieces. I kind of combined the two. I was still doing the crafty stuff, and I was still making wreaths and all that kind of jazz. But then I started incorporating the furniture. And that's kind of where I started to notice that the furniture was where it was at. And I started doing less and less of the crafty stuff and more of the furniture. When I opened my store, I started bringing that crafty stuff back in, and I was doing both again. But there for a little bit, I stopped doing the crafty part of it and was solely working on furniture. And then when I realized that not only were people looking for pieces of furniture that were redone, but they were wanting their existing furniture that, done. People have bedroom sets they've had for 20 years, and it's old and stained up, but it's good furniture. Having me redo it and kind of give it a new life, that started a whole new market there. So that's kind of how I made that leap from going from it. Like I said, it all happened by accident. It was nothing intentional, but man, was I blessed to have it go the way that it went.
At this point in your life, you would have, up to that point, you would have never thought, thank God I got fired, Yeah,
no, absolutely not. And I was devastated when I lost my job because I truly did love my job. As stressful as it was, I loved my job, and I was devastated by the loss of it. But now looking back, it was a blessing in disguise for sure, because this was meant to happen the way it was. And I don't, for any reason at all, wish that I had not gotten fired. I am so very thankful that I got fired that day for sure.
And I think it's a lot of point for a lot of listeners listening to the show is a lot of them may be going through that transition phase in their life where they're like, shit, I just got fired. I just got let go. What am I doing? Where is it at? And it's cool to let people hear your story of, even though you felt like shit while you're going through it, look what's happened because of it.
Yeah, so, and I'm not going to lie, though, after, right when I started Shabby Abby, and my husband, I owe a lot to him, because there were times, honest to God, that I'd be home, he'd be off at work, and I'd be at home, and the electricity would be shut off. And I was thinking, I have got to finish this dining room table. I've got to paint this dresser real quick, and I've got to deliver it and hope the customer pays me in cash so I can get the electricity turned back on before my husband gets home, because he's going to be upset the electricity got turned off. There were times where it was hard. It was hard getting my feet on, out underneath me, and it was hard to not live job by job, project to project kind of a deal. And that was just perseverance there. That was just sticking with it. And, a lot of people, when they get in a position like that and they don't have a support system behind them like I had, they call it quits and they will go and find some job to get them through. But sometimes when you just push through and you've got a good support system, you can really make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you've got an awesome support system. And since I know you're a crazy ass family that all works their ass off, it's impressive as hell. And you tell your mother I'm coming for her. She's going to be on this. Just a hell of a story too. So you're building all this furniture, you got enough capacity that you decide to open your first store.
Yes.
Tell them about this store, because this was a cool place you had it all set up in.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it got to the point where it was either open a store or get a divorce, because my husband was done. He was done with it being in my house because I never left work. Work was at my house. And so we just had our first daughter, Abby, at the time, and it would be where I would be on a crunch. Customer needed their furniture done. So I would be working, cook dinner, get Abby ready for bed, put Abby to bed, and then I go back out in the garage and continue working. Well, that was it. He was like, you've got to separate work and home. Work is work, and once you're done working, it's our time. It's our time to watch TV and relax and that kind of deal. But I didn't know quit. I never quit. And so when I decided to open a store, he was very much for it, because the store was the store and home was home, and I could separate a little bit. And so I found this little place. I knew I wanted to open a storefront, and I didn't necessarily want anything big or, extravagant by any means, but I had the hardest time trying to find a cute little storefront somewhere. Originally, I was looking like in a little shopping center or something like that in the local Azel area, and just could not find something. And just so happened to be driving down the highway, and this old house that's been there for years and years and years was vacant sitting there. And I was like, I could turn that into a cute store. So I found who owned it and contacted him and set it all up. And it was, cash, month to month cash, no contract, kind of a deal. But it worked for me at the time when I was trying to get set up and everything. So we took this old house, 3-bedroom house, and, oh, man, it was rough.
It was rough. It was side of a freeway.
Oh, yes. The nicotine on the walls. Oh, my gosh. It was a hot mess. But, after cleaning it up and painting it, putting in new flooring, putting, new lighting and all of that kind of thing, I kind of tried to set it up like it was an old house. And I furnished it with the furniture and the home decor and that kind of deal. And it became a really cute space. And people loved coming out and just looking for treasures, basically, and I never really considered myself an antique shop because I didn't really carry a lot of antiques.
Oh, and if you did, you would have painted them anyways, but.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything I had was painted. So, right. But, taking and setting it up like an old, old house, and it worked out really, really cute. I had the original store for right about a year or so, and then I decided to expand because that's me. I go big or go home. So I decided to expand, and I took the house that was the next door house in as well. And I redid it same way and set it up, really cute over there. Now that house was probably, pushing at least 100 years old. The wiring in there was shot and everything else, but we set it up really, really cute over there too. So I had both store locations next door to each other. Yeah, it was really, really cute. But like I was saying at the beginning of our conversation, the overhead, when you start a business like that, and especially me, never having a storefront or having a business, and I'm glad I started it small and slowly increased it larger and larger, but then you get to a point where you've outgrown your britches a little bit, and the overhead gets a little high, and that's one of the mistakes that I made in this whole process was not taking into consideration my overhead. And, my husband asked me a couple of times, he's like, where are you as far as your profits go, how your overhead, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm fine. Electricity's on, rent is paid. I'm providing food for our family. So we're good. We're cool. And he was like, no, you really need to put pen to paper. I was like, no, I'm good. We got this. And then it just got to the point where I was there all the time. My girls, because I had a second daughter, Lilly, my girls, so I felt like I was kind of missing their life a little bit because I was there 6 days a week from open to close every single day. And
you only had Monday was the only day you were closed, right?
It was closed Sundays and Mondays, actually.
Okay.
Mondays were my admin day, though, so I would be up there working on, admin stuff. And
obviously
I was
not balancing the books, but everything else.
Yes, obviously, yes. And I also started refinishing kitchens and cabinetry and that kind of deal. And so I would schedule the cabinet refinishes on my off days where I still had the store, 5 days a week. And on my off days, I was doing admin work in kitchen refinishes. So I was going 7 days a week most of the time. And I've kind of got to the point where I felt like I was starting to miss my kids' lives. They're 5 and 1, and I felt like I saw them. I was a weekend parent is what it felt like. So me and my husband kind of had a heart-to-heart on, do we keep store open or think about kind of downsizing? Oh my gosh, I was like so against it. I worked my tail off for that darn store. The little old rickety house that it was, I worked my tail off to get that. And so I was not about closing it. And so after a little bit and talking about it, putting pen to paper, doing some, finances and looking at where we're at and that kind of deal, I made the decision to close the storefront and go fully mobile. And oh my gosh, this has been life changing. And I think back, why in the world didn't I do that, years ago? Why didn't I just, be a fully mobile service years ago and cut the overhead and cut all of that? But I tell you, everything happens for a reason, for sure. But now that I am fully mobile, it's a pretty amazing operation that I've got going on right now.
Yeah, no, it really, really absolutely is. How hard was it to really come to that realization? You're sitting there, you've built a badass business. You've got 2 stores going that you literally built from the ground up. I mean, this is your baby. I mean, I know your dad built a shop in the back. That was just an awesome shop. You guys completely transformed these houses that were almost unlivable into livable structures. I mean, you spent blood, sweat, and tears, and I saw most of it, out there, to know that you were going to walk away from all of that and move into a mobile trailer unit to go cabinets refinish. And then along with that, talk about putting your dad to work.
So to answer your first part of that, coming to that realization was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it took a while. We first started talking about closing the store last September. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, and I said, no, I can't do it. I cannot give up. I felt like it was defeat. I felt like that was admitting defeat, like I lost. And, my husband kept telling me, you're not losing anything. You're evolving. You're evolving your business to the changing market. The species who evolves survives. If you don't evolve, you're going to go under. And, I had to sit back and think about that for a minute because it was the honest truth. I wasn't getting the foot traffic in the store as I used to, and I wasn't selling as much out of the store as what I used to do. My business had changed. My focus of where my business had changed. And so I knew that if I didn't change, then I was not going to survive and I would be out of a business right now. So it took from September. We revisited the idea in November, and I said, give me to the end of the year. And if at the end of the year I feel like something that we need to do, then we'll start thinking about it. So I ended up in February 1st is when we actually closed the door. We had a huge sale and sold 90% of the inventory, which was great. But you also have to think that I started those stores with $10,000. That's it. That's all the money that I had to completely build what I built and stock it, furnish it with all inventory. I mean, everything. I had $10,000. I ended up doing it for about 6, and then I had like a little nest egg. That's all the money that I had to start this whole endeavor. And so when I came out of it better than I went into it. So what did I lose? And that's what my husband kept telling me. What did you lose in that whole thing? And so it took a while to come to that. A lot of tears involved in that one. A lot of giving up, what I felt like was giving up, but in reality it was taking a hold of. I did the exact opposite than what I thought I was doing. So it took a little bit, but we came to that. Backing up a little bit, I told you I was in the oil and gas industry. So was my husband, so was my dad, so was my uncle. We all lost our jobs except for my husband. That's the only reason I was able to start Shabby Abby, because if he would have lost his job the same time I did, there's no way, because we would have both had to fight to find, new employment, and we had a new baby. There's just no way. So luckily he kept his job in the oil and gas industry, but me and my dad were both laid off. Of course, I started Shabby Abby. He went back into the oil and gas industry for a different company, and he worked for that company for right about a year, a little bit more than a year, he was laid off again. And so I tried to convince him, find something else. Don't go back into the industry. And he said, no. So he went to a third company. And he worked there for a little bit, terrible conditions, but he was traveling a ridiculous amount. He was gone 3 weeks and then home a week, and then gone 3 weeks and then home a week. And he was down in, Odessa and all of area right now and booming in Texas where the oil industry is. And so we never saw him. So when he got laid off for the third time because of just ups and downs in the industry, I convinced him to not go back to work for an oil and gas company and to try, working with me. Now, my dad builds gorgeous furniture. He does some amazing work. Some of my fondest memories of me and my dad is helping him in the shop when I was, barely able to walk. He's out there on the wood lathe and, building furniture and doing that. He's done it my entire life, but it's always been for fun. It's never been anything that he really made money off of. He built furniture for us, for his family, for friends and that kind of deal. And so I convinced him, well, why don't you build some furniture for my store? Now I've got the store going and I've got space for it. Start building some furniture for the store. So that's great. But when you're starting, you don't necessarily make enough money to live. So I taught him, which was kind of funny for me to teach him something, since you would think it would be the other way around since he is such an amazing craftsman. But I taught him how to refinish. Refinishing and building are totally two different things. But I taught him how to refinish cabinetry. And he started doing kitchens for me, and that kind of took off. Now we had 2 crews going, kitchen refinishes and that kind of deal. I was going 2 days a week. He was doing sometimes 2 and 3 jobs a week. So between the two of us, we're refinishing 5 kitchens a week. So that is one of the reasons my business kind of shifted focus a little bit away from having a storefront to actually doing more of a mobile custom refinishing in people's homes. And now, of course, then he got into doing the faux farmhouse style islands, building furniture, the pallet walls, which are really, really popular right now. So he started doing all of that kind of stuff for me, and that just expanded our business even more. So he still works for me. He's actually out right now finishing a dining room set for me right now. And so having the two of us together worked out amazing. Now that I have closed the store and now that I've gone fully mobile, he's out doing kitchens. I'm out doing kitchens and furniture because I go to customers' house now and I still do the furniture. And I've brought in another employee, which I'm really excited about. And he's working with us right now as our assistant. But as soon as he feels comfortable and that kind of stuff, I'm going to start letting him loose on doing kitchens as well. So we're going to have 3 crews going of kitchens all week long. So, right now, theoretically, in the near future, we'll be doing, upwards of 8 kitchens a week and then furniture in between. So I feel like it's definitely shifted focus and gone the right direction for sure.
Well, what's amazing, and is a lot of it because I've had the pleasure of watching your journey is, we didn't even talk about your furniture getting featured on Texas Flip and Move, and, you're picked up by them. And then all the things that you're moving into now. So this is the funny part. I tell people real entrepreneurs are those people that can't just do one thing, right? They're always thinking about what's the next idea, what's that next business model.
And that's my problem. That's my problem.
Right. So on that vein, in addition to doing all of this, Shabby Abby, redoing the furniture and stuff, raising 2 gorgeous daughters, putting up with your husband, who I've drank way too many times, right? And dealing with your family and all this stuff, what else are you doing?
So in January, me and my sister and my best friend, we decided to open a gym. So on top of all of that, I'm also a fitness instructor, and hence why I'm in workout clothes. I taught class this morning. But I teach classes in the morning and in the evenings, along with my sister-in-law and my best friend, Kristen. We own Misfit Fitness on Azles Main Street. We're a little small place, but we're a group fitness gym, and we teach everything from dance fitness, Zumba, all the way to high-intensity HIIT combat fitness, which is my favorite, and kind of everything in between, something for everybody. So that definitely is adding to my plate for sure. That takes a lot of time, but it's a stretch. That's my therapy right there. I love Shabby Abby and I love my job, but it's my job. And the longer I've done it, the more, I'm so happy that I have Shabby Abby, and it is my dream job. I get to do what I want to do, but I also have to have a release too. And my therapy is teaching fitness classes. And so, yes,
Guys, if you want to see inside the mindset of an entrepreneur, that's what it is. I mean, you got a gal that's created a very successful business and doing extremely well and is going a lot bigger. Just hold on your asses. If she doesn't end up in HGTV at some point, I'm going to lose my shit. But, doing all this stuff, in addition, starts another business with an entire fitness gym studio that, of course, they shabified the whole damn place.
Of course.
And went in there and redecorated and everything else. What's next on this journey? Because, knowing you, everything's running 100 miles an hour. What's next on this journey?
Well, I've definitely, because I only closed the store in February, and I've very recently come to the realization that sometimes less is more. And I always thought that I had to have this huge store and all this inventory and all this stuff in order to be successful. But guess what? I do not. I need to have all of that to be successful. I am very, very proud of the company that I've built, but sometimes less is more. So I feel like at this moment I'm scaling back in order to take off. And so what's next for Shabby Abby is definitely bringing in my new employee, and I think he's going to do great things for Shabby Abby, increasing the volume of projects that we have and expanding our area that we work in. Now, currently right now, we do Tarrant County and all surrounding areas. But we have refinished kitchens in Corpus Christi, or right outside of Corpus Christi, almost Corpus Christi. We have done College Station and Odessa. So we are willing to travel. And so expanding radius of the service area that we offer, as well as bringing in more projects and doing more kitchens, that's where I see us in the near future, is just growing itself. Will I ever open another storefront again? Probably not. 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely. Eventually open another storefront and kind of revamp it and doing that. But now that I've kind of seen the other side of it, of not having a store and being fully mobile, I don't think I'll ever open another storefront or really carry a whole lot of inventory any longer. Just kind of expanding, I guess, and bringing in, a few more employees, being able to offer more services, me being able to take a step back sometimes and be more of a manager instead of, hands-on, in every single project kind of a deal. That's kind of where I see, for me at least, going.
You keep this shit up and you're going to hire all of us. I'll be part of the Shabby Abby family, right? I meant to talk about this earlier, and it just came across my mind. At what point during your journey did you kind of have that break where your Facebook page exploded?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What was that moment when it gets, because I know the story and the listeners know. So walk us through that.
So Facebook is a funny thing. Facebook can be like the best thing for a business, and it can be the worst thing for a business. But if you know how to work Facebook and you know how to work it right, you can really get a good following and build a really good clientele. Now, back in the day, before Facebook had their weird algorithms that they have for business advertising, it was free advertisement, basically. If you were on there and you were hitting the ground and you were, stomping the pavement and getting those likes and getting those shares, getting those followers, it was really easy to build a nice little base there. I think that I built myself up to about 6,000 followers on Facebook, and I was so proud of that 6,000 followers. Like, I worked hard for every single one of those followers. I advertised on buy-sell trade sites and residence pages, just getting my name out there, and I got a good little following. And so one day, a girl walked into my store, and she said that she was looking for a vanity, and she really liked my style. She saw me on Facebook. She, drove all the way from other side of Fort Worth, but she was from Azle area, and so she wanted to kind of come and check me out. So I introduced myself, and we kind of got to chit-chatting and that kind of deal, and she told me that her name was Courtney Looper, and had I ever heard of her? And I said, well, no, I don't think I'd heard. And she's like, well, you need to look me up. I have a pretty good following on Facebook, and maybe, I can help you out on getting some more followers. And I was like, well, I've got 6,000 followers on Facebook. I'm doing pretty darn good. And she was like, no, you're doing, great. And that's how I saw you and that kind of deal. So she's the sweetest girl, though. So I helped her out. We found a vanity for her. I refinished it for her to match her decor and that kind of deal. And she left the store. I went home, did, my normal thing, went to bed, woke up the next morning, and my Facebook page exploded. I went from 6,000 followers to 20,000 followers. And so, in a matter of hours. And I was like, what in the world happened? I'm like, this is a mistake, something, whatever. And so I started trying to figure out what happened. Well, she apparently had gone onto her Facebook page, which she has over 1 million followers on her Facebook, but she had posted about me and about my business, kind of did a little thing about me and tagged back Shabby Abby page, and it absolutely exploded. So then my customer base just went, insane. And then later on, she came in and she did a video with me in the store and kind of walked everybody through the store, did a quick little video, and it was really, really cool. So we've got a pretty good working relationship. But Courtney Looper, she's extremely inspirational. Tad bit about her. She was from Azle, grew up in this area. She got herself into a bad situation. She had 2 little boys. She ended up being homeless. She lost custody of her children, had a horrible situation, but she dug herself out of it. She is an entrepreneur herself. She started her own business. She dug herself out of it. She gained a huge Facebook following, and now she is, an extremely inspirational person in our area. So I was very, very, very lucky and blessed to have her come in, and, she kind of brain dumped on me a lot of the things that her trial and tribulations that she's been through, and she's an extremely motivational person and very successful at what she's done, and she helped me out a lot by gaining, helping me out with those followers. And that's important too, because it's all word of mouth. And the best thing to, is word of mouth. And, when you own your own business, there's always going to be somebody who wants to tear you down. Always. Either it may be a fact they just don't like you. They don't like your business. They, whatever the case may be. But you have to pull yourself away from that. And so that's one of the things that she kind of taught me was the fact that people are having 1 million followers. You can imagine she does one post on Facebook and, you got 10 people that go, oh my God, you're a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. And she was like,
but she's also get 30,000 that says you're awesome. Yo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 30,000 say you're awesome. You should get those 10, but those 10 people that are just like, you're terrible. That eats at your soul when you work so hard to build a business and that kind of deal. And so that's one of the things that she told me. Cut it. Don't, you are you do you be the best version of you that you can do. You produce the best product and have the best business that you can do. And at the end of the day, that's all that you can do. And you're going to have people that are going to try to tear you down. Just rise above. Don't listen to it. And disconnecting away from the negativity is one of the things that she definitely pushed on me a little bit. And because you're never going to be able to make everybody in life happy, no matter how hard you try. But yeah, her coming into the store, that really, expanded my customer base for sure. And then, her coming back and doing the video and that kind of thing. And I've done several pieces for her, and we built several pieces for her now. And so you never know, though, who walks through your door or who walks through your life can completely change your business. For sure.
Absolutely. Bonnie, it's been amazing watching your journey and watching your rise. It's been a lot of fun. And it's cool to see where you're going and how you've fought through the shit that you fought through to get where you're at. So kudos. I always like to end the shows this way. It's if you could give somebody a phrase or a thought, something they could put in their tool belt as they go on their journey, something that they can take with them that maybe when they're stacked up against it or they're going for it, that they can use as they continue on your journey, what would it be? What would you tell them?
Oh, that is a good question.
I know. I always put everybody on the spot when I ask this.
Sometimes you just got to take a step back. I think that sometimes we get so wrapped up in what's next, so that kind of deal. Sometimes just taking a step back and evaluating where you are and what is your next step for jumping in feet first. And I guess playing it sometimes on the caution side would be my word of advice. Growing is wonderful and growing big is great and growing big fast is wonderful. But sometimes you got to take a step back and kind of evaluate where exactly do you want your business to go and what direction are you wanting this to go in? Because if not, it'll go in the direction that you weren't intending it to. And so I think that you can lose control really easily where your clientele is going, the market that you're in, and that kind of deal. So sometimes taking a step back and pulling in the reins on your business is probably the best advice that I could give.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, a couple different ways. Facebook, of course. Gotta love Facebook. Shabby Abby Creations on Facebook. I'm also on Pinterest. And my website is shabbyabbycreations.com. Email shabbyabbycreations@AOL.com. I know. I'm still on AOL.
The only person I know that still uses AOL.
I know. My husband, he was like, seriously, the 90s called. They want their email address back. Seriously. So Shabby Abby Creations on AOL. And so, yeah, send me a message. Hit me up. Check out my website. Check out my Facebook page. We're constantly posting new projects, new fun stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Bonnie.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.